another segment of Masterminds Monday, where we offer business advice, meditation techniques, and effective rituals for the proper generation of wealth. I'm your host, Felicia Taba El-Anu, and we are here with our other host, Damon Brother Rawls. And tonight we have a special guest appearance from our guest host, Brother Charles Evans. Welcome, everyone.
Greetings.
Thank you very much.
Very welcome. So thank you for joining us. So again, everyone, as you know, tonight's topic, we are going to discuss the Orisha of the week. I believe before we did Orisha Oya, so this time we decided to go with Orisha Ogun, who is very, very, very excellent to use when it comes to business. But before we begin, many of you know me and Brother Damon. So, Brother Charles, can you give us the honor of telling us a little bit about yourself and how you came into, studying under Anu Spiritual Training?
Sure. First of all, thank you very much for having me on the show. Definitely had a chance to listen to some of the shows and have really enjoyed the energy. So I'm just really excited to be here, and hopefully I have something positive to add to the discussion. In terms of my own business journey, I'll start there. Like many people, I've spent probably about 10 years or so working with different organizations, predominantly at nonprofits. And right around 2012, I made the decision to start my own business, which is called Black Star LLC. And through Black Star, what I do is consulting and training for small to medium-sized nonprofit organizations, and I also offer individualized coaching services, usually from management level up to C-level staff people. And so that's the work that I've been doing since 2002. Also, my friends and I have gotten together, originally forming ORASCA, which is a Rotating Savings and Credit Association, which has now become another business, which we call Black Horizons. And through that, we're actually involved in doing two things. One is operating as a giving circle, so giving money to nonprofit organizations, but also we have a business with owning ATM machines. And the other thing is I also am an adjunct professor teaching at a local college here in Washington, D.C., teaching on nonprofit fundraising and resource development, as well as nonprofit marketing and public relations. So I try to stay as busy as possible. And I think I'm doing a pretty good job at that, so I'm happy to do that. And I'm just looking forward to the conversation and seeing what I can add.
Wonderful. You have a lot going on.
Right.
Also, I wanted to ask you what led you to, because again, everyone, you know that Brother Damon and I are students of Anu Spiritual Training, so we, study under Chief. So how did you kind of come into, or become interested in joining Anu Spiritual Training?
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me about that. So I would say almost maybe a year and a half ago, I was in the gym one day and I decided to just start listening to different podcasts. And I think I typed into iTunes something about Orisha, and one came up on Obatala. And I started listening to it, and it was Chief Ya's podcast on it. And I was listening to it, and I was like, wow, this is just so interesting. So I started listening to all of them after that. So I listened to about 30 or 40 of them. And then I finally decided, you know what, I'm going to actually get a reading from this guy. And so I called and I scheduled a reading, and I did this, actually I remember the date, I did this December 11th of 2013, last year. And after the reading, I just really became aware of just how real the spiritual world was, and it really caused me to want to learn a lot more about it. And so when given the opportunity to start the Anu class, I jumped in with it with both feet, and I can say it's been probably one of the most transformational experiences I've gone through in my life. So it's something I strongly encourage, just really for the self-discovery, but also for just really understanding this integral part in the development of African people and culture.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And again, as many of you may not know, Anu Spiritual Training is an online course. So this is also a wonderful opportunity that Brother Damon and I and Brother Charles have to kind of build together, because it's not an in-person class. So, I think this is the first time maybe Brother Damon and Charles are kind of working together. So this is a beautiful opportunity. Like the students, we get to kind of be a part of the whole movement and experience. So that's what I really, really enjoy about it as well. Outside of the work, the other activities you can participate in. So before we begin, Brother Damon, did you have any questions for Brother Charles?
No, I didn't. Actually, I mean, you've been around for a while, and you you sound pretty busy, brother. So, Alicia and I thought we thought we were busy, but
I know. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I think he might be in Ogun energy too.
Exactly.
So, well, it's not a competition. So it's
okay. Absolutely.
But I'm looking forward to having you on the show, brother, as a staple, and I can already tell from the energy that you bring, it's going to be a good mix here. So.
Beautiful. Likewise.
Sounds good.
All right. So to kind of dive into our topic today, again, we like to pick up an Orisha sometimes, for the week that we feel is a good one to kind of study and teach about or share our experiences with that kind of shows that blending of business and spirituality. So Brother Damon, I'm going to say men take the lead this time. So Brother Damon, would you like to take the lead on this one?
Yeah, I'll jump in first.
Okay, all right.
So when I think about the Ogun, the Orisha Ogun, the best definition that I've heard is the one that Chief uses in his discussion about the Orisha, in that Ogun is like Mike Tyson. So for me personally, when I need that Mike Tyson energy, for people who remember boxing, and Iron Mike was his nickname. Iron. Mm-hmm. One of the attributes of Ogun is iron. That ability to just pummel through an obstacle. Like, if people remember him during the boxing days, you would turn on pay-per-view and this guy with 2-3 punches just destroy an obstacle, which was the opponent, So and for me, when I have obstacles and I need that toughness, sometimes I reflect and then I'll even do ritual and then, an invocation, and you can find an invocation in the book that Chief wrote, Grasping the Root of Divine Power. So I'll use that to give me that toughness so that I am like Iron Mike, that I'm just going to pummel whatever this obstacle is. So that's without taking much, because I know we got 3 opinions, I'll give that one as my short opinion.
I mean, that was a beautiful example, because that's exactly what I was thinking, like how Mike Tyson just destroys, literally plows through people. I'm not a big boxing fan, and I remember when he was around, I couldn't watch because he would just destroy somebody in like 2 minutes. I'm like, oh my God,
in minutes.
But you had to admire. It's like, wow, like that's amazing. But yeah, definitely, he's definitely a perfect archetype of Orisha Ogun. How about you, Brother Charles?
Yeah, that's actually, I love that Iron Mike analogy. It's funny because I was thinking about how, Mike Tyson almost retired pay-per-view because people stopped wanting to buy the pay-per-view fights because he was ending them so quickly because of how fast he'd be knocking people out. So that thank you for that trip down memory lane and remembering Mike Tyson before he became a comedian, like he is now. So
yeah,
definitely remember that. But I think for me, when I think of the energy of Ogun, I think of the energy that is necessary to really clear obstacles so that you can build something. And so I always think of the creation story in Ifa of Obatala coming down the iron chain to earth to create life, and the idea of that chain being iron, and just like Brother Damon was saying, that iron representing Ogun, and just thinking about when I'm faced in a business sense with having to create something where I know that there are obstacles, whether that's just my own procrastination or whether that's competition from another business entity, how do I use this energy to allow me to clear those obstacles from my path so that I can be successful? And so, similar to what Brother Damon was saying, I too utilize the invocations that I've learned through this class to really put myself in that mindset and to also remind me that there's work that's necessary to do the building. And sometimes, I think that, all entrepreneurs go through this experience sometimes where we get a little worn down or we get tired of writing the next proposal or we get tired of, kind of selling the business or selling our ideas or selling our services. But I think that energy of Ogun reminds you of the nonstop work that is necessary to be successful and that interchange between doing the work and then reaping the benefits. Because as we know, Ogun is one of those energies that you really have to work with in order to have it work with you. So it differs from some of the other Orisha.
Absolutely. I agree. I mean, just to share my perspective, I think of Ogun similarly, and then I think of two things that come to mind. Well, one first is, of course, that nonstop work, that 24/7 working Ogun, because, as many of you know, Chief Yuya is an Ogun energy, and he's constantly working. So just even observing, like, his nature is kind of like I learned a lot about Ogun. So I see that, again, like you're saying, that you have to constantly keep that work going. And even doing spiritual work with Ogun, like, nothing will happen until you actually do something, too.
Exactly.
So you can't,
exactly.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, okay, wait, I didn't do my part. Because I'm, like, getting frustrated, like, what's happening? Nothing's happening. It's like, okay, Ogun, I've learned that Ogun kind of steps in once momentum is going. He's not going to sit there and just do it for you. You have to get up off your butt and, do something, too. So I learned that the hard way, spiritually. And, just being around Ogun energies, you just see that their work ethic is, like, ridiculous. So you learn a lot. That's what you need in business. I'm learning too. I'm very new to a lot of this stuff. As in terms of working towards being self-sufficient, starting my own, little projects and stuff. I speak to Brother Damon about that all the time on the show. How it takes a lot of work. It's not like working for someone else, and you think that job is hard. Try doing it for yourself. So. That Ogun energy is definitely an energy you want to call on, especially when you're trying to cultivate your own business or if you're an entrepreneur, because he really kind of gives you that energy that you need to be successful. Another thing as well that I think, I'm sorry, go ahead. You had a question?
No, I just thought about something that it's interesting that there was a correlation that just popped up that I caught. And I just wanted to throw it out there, and I'm sorry if I interrupted you, but in that being an entrepreneur never stops.
Right.
When you work for someone, the clock stops at 5 or 6 or 7. Whenever the clock stops, you can go home. You can shut everything down. But as an entrepreneur, it never stops. It never stops. We don't take vacations. We don't get the holidays off. There's always work. So you are living in that Ogun energy all day long, 24 hours a day. Even in your sleep, you're dreaming of projects. Projects of things that need to be done, little pieces that could be, tightened up. And yeah, y'all are laughing because you know my pain. You know the pain in which I speak. So, yeah. That correlation just popped up.
Exactly. I mean, in the dreams, that resonated so well because I was waking up like 1 week, like every night. I'm like, I keep dreaming about work. I'm like, oh my God, like this is like too much. But it's good though because it's not like horrible dreams. It's like I'm coming up with ideas. It's on my mind. Like, okay, oh good, I can implement this, or I can do this to be more efficient. So it's good when you're like immersed in it because to me it's like that peak, time where it's like, okay, I'm in the moment. I have the energy, so let's just do it. So but that's true. It doesn't stop. It's a 24/7 thing. And again, that's why you need this Ogun energy. And likewise, like Brother Damon and Brother Charles, similarly, I use the book Grasping the Root of Divine Power and there are invocations in the book that you can use to kind of invoke that energy and speak forth your affirmations and things that you want him to assist you with, and it's very effective. But like Brother Charles, you were saying, you definitely have to do your part too. You just can't sit there and say, oh, I need a job,
right,
and just wait. You got to really go out there and hustle to get it too. But
right.
He will bless it. That's the key, though. He blesses it. He's the bringer of Ire, which is fortune. So he will definitely bring you those blessings and really make it successful as long as you're doing your part, like a partnership. You do your part, he'll do his part.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing, too, which in really learning more about Ogun that really resonated with me was the idea of your ego being removed from the process. Because just like Brother Damon was saying, as an entrepreneur, you're working all the time. And a lot of times people are never going to see that work. They'll only see when you're doing the presentation or when you do the posting on your website or when you're giving a speech or when you're working with a client or when you're going to the bank cashing a check. But they don't see all the work that goes into that. And you almost have to not have an ego about it. You have to not have an ego about that because no one's really going to feel sorry for you. No one's going to be worried about you. You really have to put that aside and just focus on the job at hand. And sometimes, you can never get too lazy or feel like you're above doing a certain thing. So the things that made you successful in the beginning are the things that you have to continue to do in year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5 to continue to be successful. And that Ogun energy reminds us to really remove that ego that steps in the way and sometimes makes us feel like we're the only person that's doing this work or that no one else is working as hard as us. Because the reality is there very well may be someone, and maybe they're using Ogun as well. But what's important for us is that we shed that ego that sometimes stops us from really maximizing our own potential and sometimes stops us from really seeing the beauty or the new lessons that can come from really focusing on the fundamentals and the basics that it takes to continuously work to strive to be successful and maintain that success.
Absolutely.
Well said.
Excellent point. Very well said. Because that's true. That ego, definitely. That's, I think, why some people are kind of scared to work with Ogun. Because sometimes you don't realize what you're going to get when you kind of ask for, help with things. Because that's sometimes the first thing that he removes is that ego. So he may humble you in a way that you might not like, in order for you to be successful. Sometimes that is the blockage for people being successful and bringing wealth into their lives or being successful in their businesses. Like I always share, like I've met with women, who are businesswomen and, they want to partner up with some projects. And in my head, I keep thinking to myself, well, why isn't this person, before I meet with them, as successful as they should be? They have great products. They've been out for a while. And then when you meet with them, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, it's that personality, it's that ego. Nobody wants to work with that. And I can see that's the blockage to that person being successful in wealth. And people don't think that. They think, oh, I just need a good business plan and that's it. And a good product and I can be successful. But it's other aspects of attracting wealth and being successful in business that are internal, that require that internal work. And Ogun does speak to that as well and addresses that when you work with him. So it may not be like, okay, let's revise that business plan or go out and apply to more jobs or whatever your issue is. Sometimes it's like, okay, you need an ego check or you need to be humbled, like Brother Charles is saying, so that, okay, you can see that you have to do these tasks that you think are menial because it's required for you to be successful in your business. So that's an excellent point. I just had another thing that came to mind when I thought of Ogun, and it's that, he's the one who carries that machete. And it's interesting because there's a gentleman who does our yard work. And it's interesting, he only uses a machete. He won't use, tools or anything. And I was just learning, I'm not, I don't know how to do all that stuff, building sheds and all that type of stuff, but he's from the islands and they have a different mindset. But that's I was learning, from Chief that's his life force. He gardens with the machete, he builds constructs with the machete. So it kind of speaks to that working person, that person with that working nature, who puts his hand to the work, and he gets those rewards. So he uses it for everything. With gardening, that's how he gets his food. That's how he gets his shelter, and that's just how he was raised. So it just really made me think of how Ogun, in that machete, again, is made of iron, which again is that Ogun thing, and how that's the life force that we need. Like, you have to work, especially in this physical reality, in order to live and survive. So that machete kind of made me think of, like, that is just a symbol of the working thing. And it's also, like, even his protection, to protect this life, People use that to protect themselves, whether it's from animals or, people. That machete serves so many purposes, in addition to removing blockages, those internal blockages that you have inside. So that's what I also thought of when it came to Ogun and business, that machete. The man who does our yard made me think of, like, wow, he's like an example of how that Ogun energy works and how that supports your sustenance.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so funny because, like, as we're talking, there's just more things that just kind of that are drumming up for me. And I also just think about that notion of, I know that one of the things that Chief talks about is the idea that in ancient Nigeria, when people were giving oaths, they would swear on a piece of iron, and this idea that your word has to be iron, and that Ogun energy really reminds us that you have to be, that as you're asking for things or as you're putting in the work for things, to really make sure that that's what you want, and that your effort to get those things will ultimately determine what you get. And I think one of the reasons why people sometimes might stay away from Ogun is because you're being held to that. Your word then becomes your bond, and that bond is made out of iron. So when you say, I want this job, then you also have to be willing to accept all the work that's going to come with it. Or if you say you want this new contract, then you have to take all the work that's going to come with it and all the frustrations, and realize that it's not going to be all bliss or all tragedy, but it's going to be usually somewhere in between, and that you really have to make sure that you are very exact about what it is you want, because you're going to be held to your word, and the Ogun energy is one that really does that. And so I think it's one that you don't really want to play games with or play around with, because your word really matters in these instances.
Absolutely. Well, Brother Damon, we did the show on rituals for business, and I spoke about the Ogun Pledge. Remember that one?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I can't believe I did that. But, yeah, the Ogun Pledge is just that. Like, you have to honor your word. It's basically like you make a pledge to Ogun on what you're going to do. It's usually business-related or some type of, business or job-related, career-related. And in return, it's like if you don't, you're going to suffer some consequences, some dire consequences, fatal consequences. So it was to my knowledge that if you don't, he would, you would basically, like, lose your life. So I didn't want to play around with that. So I kind of
right.
I put forth a pledge that was like a challenge, but it was something that I felt like this would really put some fire under me to kind of help get some momentum going. So I did it, and I'm still here. So, things turned out pretty okay. Still have a lot of work to do, but I did honor my pledge and what I said I would do. Because, like, Brother Charles said, he's very, that energy, I should say, is very, it's very important to keep your word or your truth to that. Because Ogun also represents truth as well. He governs the heart chakra. And the heart chakra doesn't necessarily speak just to love; it speaks also to that truth. So yeah, that's Ogun speaks to that brutal truth. So even if you know Ogun people, sometimes you speak to them, it's like, wow, he really told me about myself. And
exactly.
That's just how this is how they are. They just don't BS around. They just get right to the point, cut right through it. They see right through BS, and they address the issue to get to that truth. So even like Brother Charles was saying, even in business or whatever you're working with him, you have to be very truthful and committed to what your word.
I was thinking about. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was about to ask you.
No. I was just thinking about that truth that you were saying. That was exactly what I was thinking about prior to you saying it. So you pulled that thought out the ether for me. So because I think when you think about that truth, And in business, that is the ultimate underlying rule of business.
Mm-hmm.
Is that we are always true to each other. And so, people who really don't have true integrity never sustain businesses for a long period of time. Nobody does, So, because no one's going to do business with somebody who is dishonest or untrustworthy. So, that ultimate deepest truth, your word being iron, your word being bond, is what will allow you in that, and living in that energy, being able to be day in and day out without ego. It speaks volumes. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we go on, let's take a quick break.
And now for our New Nation announcements. The Self-Actualization Tour is coming to a close. So join us for Chief Yuya's last workshop of the year on Saturday, December 27th at the infamous Black and Nobel bookstore in Philadelphia for Chief's workshop entitled The Power of the 14 African Principles. In this workshop, Chief Yuya will walk you through easy-to-apply, hands-on methods to apply the internal and external principles that he's coined the 14 African Principles. This program deals with the deep, indigenous thought and its application in a contemporary environment. This will be an exciting and powerful workshop that you don't want to miss. It's less than a week away, so be sure to RSVP in advance to let us know you are coming. You can get more details and RSVP by visiting our event listing at www.anunation.org/events. Also, join us on January 18th, 2015 for Power-Packed Anu Nation Workshop, hosted by Sister Felicia Terrell Anu, entitled Rituals for Successful Business, which will be held at Nicholas Brooklyn Bookstore in Brooklyn, New York. This program deals with the practical application of blending business and spirituality to help you usher in prosperity and success for you and your business. Felicia will teach you about the basics of feng shui, the use of color, divining on business decisions, employing wealth archetype and statues to use in business environments, how to cleanse a new business space, and daily rituals to usher in new business. All those who attend our New Nation workshops will receive 25% off on classes and additional discounts on our products and services. To learn more as well as to RSVP, please visit us at www.anunation.org/events. Since we had such a wonderful response to our Black Friday half off of Life Path reading sale, we are offering it again. This time, we are honoring Kwanzaa and the coming new year. So beginning on December 26th through January 1st, Sister Felicia will be offering her Life Path readings for 50% off. So mark your calendars, as those are the dates when the sale will be available, and you will be able to schedule your appointment online at www.orishareligion.com. And now, back to our segment.
All right. Okay. I like that announcement. Worked out pretty well. So before we move into our business review segment, did anyone have any final words for the Orisha Ogun piece?
I did not.
No, I'm good.
Okay, wonderful. So next for our business segment, our topic is speaking your client's language. And Brother Damon, again, just to give everyone the background, Brother Damon Rawls and Brother Charles, as you know, are, as he mentioned as well, business consultants. I am currently in the lab developing our products and services as well. And so, Brother Damon, you kind of want to discuss this today, so you want to take the lead and kind of share your perspective?
Yeah, I'll jump in here. So the topic of speaking your client's language, what does that mean? To me, okay, so when I think about what a person should do, oftentimes what most people do when they come up with a business is they come up with something that they like or they think people will buy. If you've done your research and you say, okay, here's something that people will buy, or if you think this is a great idea, one of the things you have to do is learn to speak the language of your client, because these are the people you're selling to. So what do I mean by speak the language? It's getting to the root cause of their buying motives. What would actually make a person buy? And how do you craft your message, your advertisement, to speak to them in a way that that particular group that you want to buy, would want to purchase from you? Here's a perfect example of it, and I was thinking through some companies that do this very well on TV, and you don't even know that they do it. Look at Pepsi. Pepsi, okay, Coke is the first one to the market. Coke is the dominant one in the market. But who does Pepsi sell to? The Pepsi generation. They designed a whole second market, which was a generation. It was actually younger people who didn't like the taste of Coke. If you look at Mountain Dew, they do it perfectly. Mountain Dew went to a secondary market and said, we want all the weirdos. We don't want normal people. We want skaters. We want BMX bike riders. That's why they went and got Lil Wayne for their advertisement. That's why they went and got Vans, etc. Somebody else who does this really good is Taco Bell. Taco Bell has designed their food specifically for marijuana smokers.
Yeah.
If you don't believe me, think about this. Okay, now I'm going to break it down, and when I break it down, you'll get it.
Okay.
Who is up late at night eating a fourth meal? And why do they only need $1.50?
That's a good point. That's an excellent point.
Think about it. They extended their hours till 2-3 in the morning. So who's eating that late at night? Except for people leaving the club and weed heads. Let's just be honest. I mean, it just is, or that person who gets up at 3 in the morning and wants to eat Taco Bell. You know what I'm saying? But that's speaking the language of your client. Like, look at analyze the Taco Bell. Next time you look at the commercials, look at it. You'll see it.
I'm going to. I mean, that's an excellent observation. I've only eaten at Taco Bell once, and again, I wasn't a weed head, but I did go when it was kind of late. It was when I was younger, and was I in college or something? You know how college kids, so you're just up and you want horrible food and horrible things like late at night, and that's cheap. So that was my first and last experience at Taco Bell, because I did not enjoy the food. But that's an excellent observation. I didn't realize they were open to 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, they're open till 2, 3, 4 in the morning now, and all night. I mean, like, I watch these things, so I catch little stuff like that, and I'm like, because if you think about the fast food industry, and actually go back and look at the older commercials, fast food was designed for families. All fast food was designed for families because moms started working in the workplace in the 70s and 80s And so there was nobody there to cook for children. So all these fast food restaurants popped up, and all the commercials were wholesome family commercials because, since mom wasn't here, we're going to go grab something real quick and then get to the table and all sit down and eat. And then they all split their messages out because they, had to start grabbing up different market share. But if you look at the commercials now, it's not the same. So.
Yeah, I think the one of the critical things that Brother Damon is talking about is this idea of really establishing your target audience and knowing that. And so in both examples of Mountain Dew, Pepsi, and Taco Bell, that's the one of the things that's really resonating with me is this notion of the idea that, for any product, there are people out there that are willing to buy it. And the difference between you getting those sales and not getting those sales is your ability to create the messaging that resonates with that target audience that is most likely to buy the product. And so, with my experience, which as a consultant and a trainer and a coach is always to some degree sales, what I find is that understanding not only the language, but also the terminology that is used in your industry and being able to make that terminology applicable to the particular potential client is one of the key parts of getting the sale, so to speak. So, in business, there's always these terms that are just kind of thrown out, whether that's a term like something like change management. And so, there's books on change management and there's whole classes and things like that. But change management is something that can be very real to a particular organization. And so just quickly, change management is just like the process that an organization goes through involving all the key stakeholders to cause a significant change in how that business operates. And if change management is done effectively, then, the board members and the leadership, everyone down to the administrative level is buying into and feels a contributory role to the change. Now, that as a concept is one thing, but how do you apply that to organization X or business Y that's going through that process? Being able to talk in that language and make it real for them is one of the key things in really speaking the client's language. It's so important because the other part about it is understanding the language of the industry gives you a sense of expertise, and it gives you an air of expertise. So just like how, we're in the process of learning how to speak a brand new language through the Anu class, and as we become more adept at speaking that language, it raises our level of expertise of what we're talking about. The same is true for business as well. And so in any industry, whether it's the IT industry, whether it's a nonprofit industry, whether it's government, whether it's business, there's always going to be some terminology that you're going to want to stay abreast of. So, for me personally, I like to try to always read things, even if it's just little quick things from the Harvard Business Review or LinkedIn actually has a lot of great articles on it, Entrepreneur Magazine, just things that kind of let you know what are the trends in the industry, because they will inevitably show up in the next proposal that you're going to put together or with the next potential client that you might work with, and just being able to use that language and being able to talk about it in an informed and real way, not just in a jargon way, really sometimes is the difference between closing a deal or not closing a deal. So that's just what I would add to that.
Beautiful, beautiful. And again, as you guys know, I'm still, developing my business consultant skills and projects and businesses, but just working under Anu Nation and working with our clients, our students, and everything, I definitely agree that speaking the language is key. And that's even one of the things that we kind of, just even from the learning experience for our classes, we advise our prospective students to start with our free course and read the book specifically so they can understand the language as well. So we all can speak the same. People like to feel like you understand them and that they can be understood. So in order for people to not feel, isolated or that they're so behind everyone else, we try to give people a little bit of some leverage so when they come in, they don't feel so awkward or feel like they're so behind. Because that's my big thing, that we all have something to learn from each other. But just going back to business and the Coke, I was watching some documentary on Coke while I was away recently, and they had an amazing, it was an amazing documentary to me. But just to get to the point of the language, I like how Coke's their audience, when we speak about target audience, is vast. It's like grandma likes Coke, and 2-year-old Tommy likes Coke. And to me, I'm just really amazed that when one product can like span the generations, and continue to exist for generations and generations. And they were saying that not only is there is resonant, they try to resonate with people, but they were very good at evoking the emotions of people. So when people think of Coca-Cola, they think of Christmas, because of course it has the colors of Santa Claus. They think of their childhood, to the point where people were like writing letters to Coca-Cola, like angry letters, when they decided to change their formula. 50, 60-year-old people were like, "You are changing my childhood." So I was like, that's powerful. So I was really learning a lot about business watching this documentary, and how just for decades they just survived on that one product alone. So it was, again, showing that you do have to be versatile. You can't really do that because they started to suffer, again, with Pepsi and other competition that came out. But I really did like how they were really able to reach their target, their audience, in a way that was very impacting, to the point where 60-year-olds to 10-year-olds, whatever, they were just enamored with this product, and they really pulled on their emotions. So to me, when I think of speaking the language, I think it's key to, like Brother Charles was saying, you have to study your field, understand the people that you are working with, because they can see right through you again if you can't, and you can feel that. So I think you have to learn to be very dynamic. And again, going back to Ogun, he teaches you that, because Ogun energies are super dynamic. Ogun doesn't just have a machete. He also governs technology. He also is one who governs the forest and earth. He's a healer. So he has a lot of different traits and characteristics and aspects of himself. And I think in business, that's the same thing you have to do, even as a consultant, depending on who you're trying to reach. So if you have to, if you're trying to reach a vast audience, it's like you have to kind of know that audience well, so that you can speak to them in a way that they understand and feel at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead, Brother Damien. No, go ahead, brother.
No, I was just going to say you're absolutely right, and I was just going to bring up a strategy for reaching clients to learn the language prior to even launching or as you're launching a business, is you could do surveys.
Mm-hmm.
You could do surveys on, maybe top 10 issues or concerns that they have, depending on what your product is. If it's financial services, then you can craft something around, craft some questions around, what are your pain points? What do you want to do? When do you want to retire on average, et cetera? And go out and interview a couple of hundred people if you can, but then you'll start hearing the language, and you'll start understanding how to speak to them in a way that they want to be talked to. And start being cognizant of people who sell to you. Like when you're watching TV, if you connect with a product, or you connect with a sales pitch, look at what the sales pitch did. Like flip it over, look at what it did to you, and see how you can do that to your market. Because if somebody gets it right, if you like it. Like, if somebody talks to you, or if you're watching TV and the product comes on and you go, I like that. Mm-hmm. I can feel it. When they speak, politicians are really good at it. Like, if you watch them, especially during the voting season, watch the different commercials that come out. Mm-hmm. They got the single mother commercials, then they got the right-winger commercials. Those commercials are crafted in a slick way, and they speak exactly to your internal feelings about the United States or the city or whatever situation. So
yeah, those.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say those are excellent points. I mean, it's just the market research part is just so important, especially when you're in the beginning stages of the business. It's so interesting because I'm thinking about when I was first started developing the coaching part of my business, the coaching program that I went through, we were actually encouraged to do research like that. So to really ask people, have you ever used a coach before? What reasons would you use a coach? What would prevent you from using a coach? And probably one of the really good questions to ask is, how much would you be willing to pay for coaching? Because, and I'm sure Brother Damon knows this as well, in the consulting business, training, coaching business, really trying to figure out what your price point should be is something that you really kind of need the market to help you determine. And this, just looking at what your clients will be like. So the market research part is very important, and it really does help to give you insight to help you develop your business better, because you can figure that, there are some people that will pay $100 an hour for your services. There's some people who will pay $250 for your services, all the way up to $2,000 for your services. And it's just a matter of figuring out what that price point is based on the needs of that other person or that potential client, and really being able to speak to those needs. So even another exercise is just really putting yourself in the mindset of your potential client. What is it that you think that they're thinking about? I know, like one of the coaching questions that are asked sometimes is, what about your business is keeping you up at night? And when you ask people that question, it's a very visceral question, but it's something that really taps into what are their real concerns. And once they start to share that with you, that starts to give you some data in terms of, where are the areas where they would really be able to benefit from coaching. And so that dialogue and that understanding of the clients, and understanding of the language that the client is using, is really a critical part of being successful. So, yeah, I definitely agree with everything that Brother Damon is saying on this point.
Mm-hmm. Likewise, I was going to add, I think also when you work in business environments, before you step out as an entrepreneur, you learn a lot about business, So when I worked in corporate America, I worked for a financial firm, and I did a lot of the auditing for wealth management offices. So you were working with FAs, you're interviewing FAs, and you're seeing if they're following the policies and procedures. And we did have one test, it was called KYC, which basically stands for Know Your Client. So we just had to make sure that they were collecting all the information, but it just speaks to, if you are a consultant or any type of business person, you're trying to understand your client, you can literally give your client a questionnaire. So that kind of, outside of that compliance role, it was also to help the financial advisor know the needs of his client base. Because some advisors were brand new, and some, they were millionaires, so they've been in business forever, and they had a long and a loyal client base. But that had to keep being updated because their clients' needs change as they get older, as things change, or the kids go to school now. So it constantly was given out, like I think on a yearly or quarterly basis, just to stay in touch with what their clients needs and their, the demands that and the change in demands that came up based on life circumstances or whatever, divorce, marriage, kids going to college. So I thought that was really interesting, and it was very just an easy, simple way to kind of figure out what your client's needs are by basically asking them, fill out this questionnaire. And then you can do a survey, you can do an analysis, or whatever you do to kind of determine how you can meet your client's needs on a larger scale. So I thought that was an interesting learning experience that I kind of gained from, working in corporate America.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no better way to learn than by doing, right? and just like really immersing yourself in the experience. And just tying it back to everything we've been talking about from the beginning. Spiritual work is like that as well. You have to actually do the work and get down with it and put it in your hands and really, really do it to learn about it. It can't all be gained from a book or from something else. So that's a critical part of it, and it connects a lot with just how business operates.
Mm-hmm. Okay, not just read it and think that you're going to be an entrepreneur overnight. Definitely cannot do that.
No.
So before we continue, Brother Damon, do you have any announcements that you'd like to share?
Yes, we have an exciting, and did I mention it's an exciting product that we're dropping in January. January 1, I am launching a laser-focused workbook. and I'm going to teach in this workbook. You can purchase just the workbook itself, or you can upgrade it to actually have coaching with the workbook. But I'm going to teach my laser focus, and I never really put it in a book. I've kind of taught it for a couple of years, but I'm going to teach it to the general public, and it's my laser focus way of making sure you hit your goals. It's a goal setting program, because everybody's going to go into the new year setting goals and creating these wonderful lists and doing these things, and then by February it's over. Like, we won't do it. We won't look at the list again, But it's going to be a great product, and people have already been going through it. But I'm launching it to the general public. And if you are interested in this product, getting more information, you can send an email to admin@DamonRawls.com. ADMIN@DamonRawls.com.
That sounds awesome. Awesome. And do you still have your other program going on that you usually announce?
Yes, actually still doing that. That's the Find Your Inner Freak program is still going on, and a lot of people have enjoyed that this year. Yeah. But we're putting out, we're doing more work, and so just dropping a lot. I'm actually doing more workshops now, so kind of kicking back a little bit. So on the product, on the one-to-one side, but doing more group work now and helping people in that way. So, but it's fun times.
Beautiful.
Fun times. I'm on a mission to help as many people as I physically can next year. So
that's excellent goal. And you will.
Yeah, it is.
Charles, would you like to share your information and how we can contact you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, folks can find me on the web at www.blackstarconsultingdc. That's blackstarconsultingdc.com, all one word. Once again, www.blackstarconsultingdc.com. And then phone number-wise, you can reach me at 202-713-9650. You can also reach me through email at cevans@blackstarconsultingdc. That's all one word, once again, .com. And right now I'll say that I'm really interested in working with trainings and coaching clients. So I've been my plan actually for 2015 is to really focus in a lot more on the coaching practice and on the training. So I already have a couple of things lined up, but I'm always looking for the opportunities to work with, great people in group settings, as well as on an individual basis as well. So by all means, reach out to me. We can have a conversation. Typically for all potential coaching clients, I do a free 30-minute introduction where I'll just have a chance to expose you to my particular coaching modality. And, we can talk about whether or not coaching is a good fit for you and then which coaching package will work best for you. So definitely not a high-stress, high-sell experience, but very introductory and also a learning experience. And so for anyone who's interested, please feel free to reach out to me once again. I can reach that www.blackstarconsultingdc.com. And the email address is cevans@blackstarconsultingdc.com. Phone number is 202-713-9650. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you. So thank you again, Brother Charles, for joining us, and we would love to have you again as our, potential permanent co-host.
It would be an honor to be back in this space with the two of you. I really felt really good about the energy between the three of us. So, thank you once again for just creating a space for me. Enjoyed the dialogue and conversation. I'd love to do it again sometime.
Okay, beautiful. And as you all know, if you have any questions, you can always reach us at mastermindsmonday@gmail.com. Or as it's new now, we are going to start opening up our phone lines so that you can actually call in, because Brother Damon loves to answer questions. So every Monday at 9, before we close out, you can call in and ask myself and any guest hosts that we have, any questions that you have related to our area of focus, which is spirituality and business. And definitely just call in, press 1 to raise your hand if you have any questions, and we will get the answers for you. So thank you again I'm sorry, before I close out, Brother Damon, did I cut you off? Did you have anything to add?
No, I didn't. No, great show.
Okay.
Great show. And you are definitely, the pyramid is formed now with the third here. So, so we're good.
Wonderful. Yeah, I really enjoyed the show as well. I had a nice flow. But again, hopefully you can come back on again. And until next time, we will see you all again next Monday. Peace.
It's good. Peace.
Another segment of Masterminds Monday, where we offer business advice, meditation techniques, and effective rituals for the proper generation of wealth. I'm your host, Felicia Tarbell Anu, and we are here with our other host, Damon Brother Rawls. And tonight we have a special guest appearance from our guest host, Brother Charles Evans. Welcome, everyone.
Greetings.
Thank you very much.
Very welcome. So thank you for joining us. So again, everyone, as you know, tonight's topic, we are going to discuss the Orisha of the week. I believe before we did Orisha Oya, so this time we decided to go with Orisha Ogun, who is very, very, very excellent to use when it comes to business. But before we begin, many of you know me and Brother Damon. So, Brother Charles, can you give us the honor of telling us a little bit about yourself and how you came into, studying under Anu Spiritual Training?
Sure. First of all, thank you very much for having me on the show. Definitely had a chance to listen to some of the shows and have really enjoyed the energy. So I'm just really excited to be here, and hopefully I have something positive to add to the discussion. In terms of my own business journey, I'll start there. Like many people, I've spent probably about 10 years or so working with different organizations, predominantly at nonprofits. And right around 2012, I made the decision to start my own business, which is called Black Star LLC. And through Black Star, what I do is consulting and training for small to medium-sized nonprofits, podcasts on it. And I was listening to it, and I was like, wow, this is just so interesting. So I started listening to all of them after that. So I listened to about 30 or 40 of them. And then I finally decided, you know what, I'm going to actually get a reading from this guy. And so I called and I scheduled a reading. And I did this, actually I remember the date. I did this December 11th of 2013, last year. And after the reading, I just really became aware of just how real the spiritual world was. And it really caused me to want to learn a lot more about it. And so when given the opportunity to start the Anu class, I jumped in with it with both feet, and I can say it's been probably one of the most transformational experiences I've gone through in my life. So it's something I strongly encourage, just really for the self-discovery, but also for just really understanding this integral part in the development of African people and culture.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And again, as many of you may not know, Anu Spiritual Training is an online course. So this is also a wonderful opportunity that Brother Damon and I and Brother Charles have to kind of build together, because it's not an in-person class. So, I think this is the first time maybe Brother Damon and Charles are kind of working together. So this is a beautiful opportunity. Like the students, we get to kind of be a part of the whole movement and experience. So that's what I really, really enjoy about it as well. Outside of the work, the other activities you can participate in. So before we begin, Brother Damon, did you have any questions for Brother Charles?
No, I didn't. Actually, I mean, you've been around for a while and stuff.
Profit organizations, and I also offer individualized coaching services, usually from management level up to C-level staff people. And so that's the work that I've been doing since 2002. Also, my friends and I have gotten together, originally forming ORASCA, which is a Rotating Savings and Credit Association, which has now become another business, which we call Black Horizons. And through that, we're actually involved in doing two things. One is operating as a giving circle, so giving money to nonprofit organizations, but also we have a business with owning ATM machines. And the other thing is I also am an adjunct professor teaching at a local college here in Washington, D.C., teaching on nonprofit fundraising and resource development, as well as nonprofit marketing and public relations. So I try to stay as busy as possible, and I think I'm doing a pretty good job at that, so I'm happy to do that. And I'm just looking forward to the conversation and seeing what I can add.
Wonderful, wonderful. You have a lot going on.
Right.
Also, I wanted to ask you what led you to, because again, everyone, they know that Brother Damon and I are students of Honor Spiritual Training, so we, study under Chief. So how did you kind of come into, or become interested in joining Honor Spiritual Training?
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me about that. So I would say almost maybe a year and a half ago, I was in the gym one day and I decided to just start listening to different podcasts. And I think I typed into iTunes something about Orisha, and one came up on Obatala. And I started listening to it, and it was Chief
for boxing, and Iron Mike was his nickname. Iron.
Mm-hmm.
One of the attributes of Ogun is iron. That ability to just pummel through an obstacle. Like, if people remember him during the boxing days, you would turn on pay-per-view and this guy with 2-3 punches just destroy an obstacle, which was the opponent, So and for me, when I have obstacles and I need that toughness, sometimes I reflect and then I'll even do ritual and then, an invocation, and you can find an invocation in the book that Chief wrote, Grasping the Root of Divine Power. So I'll use that to give me that toughness so that I am like Iron Mike, that I'm just going to pummel whatever this obstacle is. So that's without taking much, because I know we got 3 opinions, I'll give that one as my short opinion.
I mean, that was a beautiful example, because that's exactly what I was thinking, like how Mike Tyson just destroys, literally plows through people. I'm not a big boxing fan, and I remember when he was around, I couldn't watch because he would just destroy somebody in like 2 minutes. I'm like, oh my God,
in minutes.
But you had to admire. It's like, wow, like that's amazing. But yeah, definitely, he's definitely a perfect archetype of Orisha Ogun. How about you, Brother Charles?
Oh, and you sound pretty busy, brother. So, Alicia and I thought we thought we were busy, but
I know. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I think he might be in Ogun energy too.
Exactly. So, well,
it's not a competition. So it's okay.
Absolutely.
But I'm looking forward to having you on the show, brother, as a staple, and I can already tell from the energy that you bring, it's going to be a good mix here. So.
Beautiful. Likewise.
Sounds good.
All right. So to kind of dive into our topic today, again, we like to pick an Orisha sometimes, for the week that we feel is a good one to kind of study and teach about or share our experiences with, that kind of shows that blending of business and spirituality. So, Brother Damon, I'm going to say men take the lead this time. So, Brother Damon, would you like to take the lead on this one?
Yeah, I'll jump in first.
Okay, all right.
So, when I think about the Ogun, the Orisha Ogun, the best definition that I've heard is the one that Chief uses in his discussion about the Orisha, in that Ogun is like Mike Tyson. So for me personally, when I need that Mike Tyson energy, for people who remember